I will, I can't do it.
I want
Uh,
to finish them.
So I'm gonna definitely skip over some stuff that I just don't see as much. I'm gonna prioritize the value as we go.
Yeah.
But if I skip over something that one of you, everybody like is like, yeah, I should like that. Or even if it's not on the agenda, again, I'd much rather have. you-
Any more questions?
No, ask lots of questions. We need more questions. That's basically what I was just saying is if we just wanted to talk in general about working with buyers and sellers, I got it. But I'll use the outlet lane as a basis and just stop me if you want to dive deeper. I would much rather have questions than you're in the headlight stares or anything. So feel free to stop me, ask questions. We'll dive deep on 1 or 10 topics, whatever we've got. So we're talking, we've really already talked a little bit about winning the buyer, winning the seller. That whole process of generating the opportunity, why you've got the opportunity in hand. Does this work?
I don't know, let's try it. Did it not work? I can't
Sometimes
ever,
like quiets or something, like if you got the. Oh, there we go.
no, it was me. Try it again. No,
Okay, success with clients. So here's the agenda, success with clients, we'll talk about that, success with buyers, success with sellers, success with co-agents. Corey had some success with co-agents out there, recap and all. So, great agent client communication. So one of the biggest complaints that I might even get as a broker is my agent didn't call me and tell me this. My agent didn't follow up and let me understand this or that, right? And it's really kind of horrible. It's not like I get that common. But a huge part of your value proposition starts with, of course, market knowledge, knowing what is a property worth or not, what type of home, like all the details back there. But the next biggest piece is holding the hand, understanding that they may have sold 10 houses, but they still want to walk through the process. They still want to understand all the key components of everything that's going on. And if you think about any other profession that I kind of hate when we compare ourselves to doctors. We're not a doctor. We're not like schooling.
not my
But
first.
if you go meet with your doctor for a procedure, you're going to get a lot of information, right? Here's how you're going to prepare for the procedure. Here's when and where you're going to check in. When you check in, here's what's going to happen. Here's the procedure we're going to do. Post procedure is going to be this, that, and the other. You're going to get a lot of detail and conversations down the road. And if you don't, you sort of feel like you just got gutted and played for your insurance payment. You know what I mean? And so you want that communication. So your clients want the same thing. They want to know the next step, even if they know what the next step is. They want to hear it. They want to know that you've got to figure out. So they want to have all that stuff. So we'll talk a bit about systems, but communication can't be understated enough. So it provides a strong foundation for a sustaining relationship as well. It doesn't always have to be a transactional conversation. And if you're calling a listing that's been on for 10 days and they just haven't had any showings, or they've had a couple of showings and it's a pretty brief conversation, because it lines up with what your listing assessment was, right? It's going to take 25 days or so to generate an offer. We don't see more than 5 showings a week. I'm going to be concerned if our pricing isn't right. So your conversation can be back to your listing appointment and say, look, we've actually had 6 showings in the last week. I still think we're on pace with where we're at in the market. I'm confident that the showings that we're getting are going to eventually produce an offer or something else. But then you can drop that piece and say, well, so how is Billy's soccer game? What, get to know and create a personal touch in the conversation, that communication, while you deliver some value through the transaction process. Sets and manages expectations proactively through the transaction, creates peace of mind for your clients and answers your credit. So setting and managing expectations, as a realtor, anybody self-employed, you often will end up with phone calls at 9 and 10 o'clock at night. And it will tell you as soon as you answer it the first time at 10, that's the time to get the next call. And the next call, the next call. That's what they're scheduling files. So if you want to protect your own time, don't be afraid to set those boundaries and expectations up front. Right? That's a listing agreement after it's signed. So here's my deal. I'm going to be available between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. every night. If you get my voicemail after 6 p.m., I'll make sure to get back to you the next day. If it's a really text me and set your own boundaries, set the expectations, and everyone's going to have a problem with that. Also let them know your cadence of communication and what method they prefer. So again, my client Janet surprisingly wanted text messages because she blew up she was legally blind, but she could move around, but her text message would have size 30 font. But she liked text messages versus emails to generate time. So we agreed that that's how I was going to best communicate by text. And some clients want the phone call, some clients will tell you they want to text, you should still touch base with a phone call, but let them know. I do my follow-ups on Tuesday mornings, because Mondays I got a lot of meetings, so I'll make sure that I touch base with you every Tuesday for sure, no matter what. And obviously I'll call if there's something, or if you have a question, don't hesitate to call me, we can guarantee you every Tuesday. So you can say every Tuesday, Friday, you can say once a month, you're not gonna hear from me till after closing. Set the cadence, set the expectation, and then follow, right? The three levels of service, you got your purpose, value proposition, and fiduciary. Fiduciary, functionary versus fiduciary. So functionary is somebody who just gets the transaction done. You're just literally just functioning to get it done. Really gonna look out for all of this. You may get a really great offer that for some reason puts the seller in jeopardy, right? Or an offer that's cash, but it's low and whatever else the seller might want to, you just need to be your fiduciary, understand what their rights and responsibilities are, what have to help best protect them. Sometimes it creates uncomfortable conversations, they know they have mold in the attic, or son used meth in the basement, and they're asking, how do I answer this question? And we had the son in the basement with meth, and I think maybe, I don't know, we had mold that we had treated, but we never had treated. We just, you know what I mean? Like, you have to be a fiduciary and let them, and teach them and let them understand that if they don't give that full disclosure, they're gonna have. So sometimes conversations are hard, but be a full fiduciary to make sure they understand their part of the process and that you're there to attack that. So setting expectations we talked about, right? So what you've already done your listing presentation, and so they know what you're going to be doing for marketing. So just make sure we follow through with it. Make sure they understand what your communication cadence is, what bits of data you're going to provide along the way. Again, if you said I'm going to give you a weekly update of other homes for sale in your neighborhood, make sure that's set up in this kind of reviewing the transaction process. So this is really for a buyer right here. This piece, partner with an agent. Mentioned that they want part, you get pre-approved for the loan, set clear search criteria, find a new home, make an offer, negotiate the terms, get go under contract, coordinate vendors, negotiate inspections, get an appraisal, pre-close preparation, close. A lot of little components. Now on your KW app, do you have your app yet?
Yeah.
Okay, so on your app, there's a buyer's guide and a seller's guide. And if you go into command on the main page at the very bottom, there's a consumer button. If you click consumer, then you can go to the top and it'll show you the guides. You can customize those guides to include whatever you want in whatever ordering. And it basically talks about this. You found me, I'm going to kick ass and take names for you. Let's get you pre-approved. So then we'll square that talks about what that means. You can elaborate, you can make it longer, you can choose the standard one that's there. But it's already built for you. It's kind of why I'm telling this. But you can elaborate it and add your own little tweaks to it if you like. Setting clear search criteria is really important as well. And then getting better at reading your client as they tell you their criteria. You're smirking, I love it. So
We did this yesterday in coaching the buyer presentation, where you got to think on what that criteria is.
so there's a few ways to do it. Ask point blank, right? What kind of house is it? How many bedrooms? What price? What city? We don't want. What's manageable? What is the kitchen most important, or the yard? If you could have this, but not that, which would you prefer? Ask some deeper questions. Also, just having general conversations with them. Again, I use the Ford script a lot, which is family, occupation, recreation, dreams. Just using that, not like rigid, but like understanding about who their family is. What do they do? Ski. I don't know, whatever, right? Like just having conversations about what they do for fun, who they engage with, where they hang out, what kind of thing, like does a couple of things. One, it gets you a better personal relationship with them. You feel more connected because you're asking questions about their life. So they suddenly have become, they've befriended you by telling you all the things that are sort of personal, not all. Don't ask too much. Unless you, but right, you've got the intimate conversations that get you connected on a way that makes you their friend and real friend first. But
People get intimate about homes.
they do. So, but in that conversation, right, you can learn a lot, right? The husband likes Harley Davidsons. They've got 3 kids. They like to ski. They also like to camp. So already, well, if I found them a house that like a 3-car garage, so we could put the Harley in the back, put the skis along the wall on an RV pad, they'd probably be stoked. And they've got 3 kids, so they probably need at least a 4-bedroom house, mom, dad, and the 3 kids. But you've already, without asking, do you want a 3 or 4-bedroom house? Do you want an RV pad or do you want a garage? You've already extrapolated what you think they might need. And then you can, in the conversation about what the search criteria ought to be, you can present some options. So I know you love to camp and you've got a 5th wheel trailer you told me about. And in your Harley, would it be sweet if you had like a 3rd-car garage that had that extension, so you could maybe make that your motorcycle shop and then have the RV park next to it? Is that something that would be important to you to have? Well, yeah, of course. I get your revenue. How did you know?
But not a deal breaker.
Yeah, is that a deal breaker? If we find a house without that, is that a deal breaker? And as we met with the lender, we know your budget is this, right? So inside that budget, we need to be able to determine which ones are deal breakers and which ones aren't. Because the budget is limited. If you have an unlimited budget, your budget has this. So I'm going to use your budget to that. So being really clear on that criteria is important, but definitely know that when they tell you, Corey, it's a deal breaker.
You better find one with an RV pad.
Well, do your best to find one with an RV pad, but don't be scared to find one and show it to you that doesn't have an RV pad.
That has a place for.
To have a place for
Rent.
one, or has storage maybe nearby, like it's down the road. Because I've totally sold houses to people that were like, I'm only getting a single level house, I don't want stairs, and I want a 0.4 acre lot or bigger, about a 2-story and a 0.25. And it's like, how do you? So it'll drive you crazy because you'll set up criteria that is what it is, and then they'll send you a listing to use it on Realtor.com, Redfin or something. Even after you tell them don't use all those other apps, use mine. They'll send it to you, and then you'll say, well, this doesn't even match at all what we've been talking. So just keep that in mind that you're going to get that. But as they send those little things to you, ask those questions. When we establish and define your search criteria, you were pretty adamant you didn't want a 2-story, but the home you just sent me is. When we talk about that, we understand what is it about this house that made you decide that was okay to search for. So I want to make sure I'm giving you all the best homes to search for. So set really clear search criteria, but then understand it's sort of a game that you're going to play as you get to know the client better and search for houses. Finding the new home. So another big complaint that realtors get in general is that you set it and forget it. You set a search criteria, and then you just let the hot sheet do its trick. They'd send you some listings back they like, and you see a house, but they actually found the house. They drove by it. So if you have an active buyer who's an A buyer, someone who really wants to buy a house, they've already been pre-approved, you've shown them some houses, they're looking, you should every single day, in my opinion, get on and run their search. So copy yourself on the auto searches that you have set up, the auto listings that are going out, and copy yourself up. And every time you get one, look at it. So when they call you about the house on 2755 West, you go, I saw that one, the one with the blue door and the 3-car garage. Great little house. Right? You want to know before they call you. You don't want to be like, oh, let me look that up. Like, know before they call you, if you can. You don't have to babysit. But run that search, and then run the search, but maybe even loosen a little bit, independent of anything you might send them, because you might find something. Like, toy with it for some minute. Spend 10-15 minutes on every buyer that's active. It's going to get in the car with you today or tomorrow to go buy a house, to look at houses, to just drum things up and send them 1 or 2 listings. You get the listing alert, they get the listing alert as well. So you know they already got the email. I love to go to my app after I get the listing alert, and I go to my KW app to my webpage, and I find the listing on my app, and then I share that listing with them through text and say, hey, we just emailed you this listing this morning. I think this might be a really great fit to go look at. Take a look at it with your husband and make your thoughts. Right? Even if it's not the perfect house, just do it. It's a touch point, and they know you're watching out for them. Yeah. Make sense? How else do you find homes? You guys looking at KSL.com or for sale by owner?
I did look at for sale by owner.
You might need to on occasion, right? If you've got a buyer that's hungry and you've looked at some houses, you're not finding anything in your normal search patterns, get a little creative. Go to KSL, call for sale by owner. Call your client, hey, I talked to this for sale by owner. They're over in Washington Terrace. Looks like a really great property. It's not in the listings I showed you because they decided not to use an agent. I think we have a good opportunity here to sneak this out from anybody else. It's under market. Sell yourself as a realtor in the process and show them that stuff.
Never considered that. Or if your clients have a specific neighborhood that they want to live in, you can go door knock that neighborhood to see, say I have a buyer looking for a listing. Ken sent out postcards to a specific neighborhood that someone was wanting and he got two listings out of it.
I've heard people do
Says somebody
this.
wanted to buy in that neighborhood.
So I've heard people do this. They get a pre-qual for their buyer, pre-qual letter. Cute, it's got the name, it's got the thing on it, price. Get an offer in hand with the buyer's name filled out. The date blank, the seller name blank, and the address and the purchase price blank. Have the buyer's name on top and then you present it. Say, I've got a buyer seriously interested in this neighborhood. You don't even mind what buyer sell. They're ready to write this offer here. But and I just gotta know that you want to sell, and I'll take this to my buyer, and we'll put this together. I'll get them there to see the house tomorrow if they like. Sounds cheesy. I've never done it, but I
So
heard
wait,
it,
do
so
you
they-
actually have the buyer, like, real, or is that?
you
made
should,
up?
if you do that, you really should have a buyer.
Can you imagine?
But if you've got, if you're just scouring a neighborhood, you're just farming a neighborhood, there's a lot of opportunities there. We can go off topic for just a second on that. So that scenario is you really have you have a buyer, right? One buyer, couple, whatever it is, and they say, yeah, I want to live in Washington Terrace in this particular block, right? Whatever this area is south, north, and it's price point, that's what, if you can go knock that neighborhood. I got an offer. If you want, if it's a deal, then we can make a deal. If you're just scouring and farming a neighborhood for listing potential, right? So you just want to try and find a listing in there.
Mhm.
You could, I would do like a heat map of an area, like, and by heat map, I mean, you could look at recent solds in an area and see like, where's there pockets of a lot of listings that have sold, zoom in on that and see what sold recently and for what price, maybe do a quick, analysis, a quick price analysis. Look, the average price per square foot for this neighborhood is X. Walk through the neighborhood to say, hey, your market, it sells hotter than almost any other market in the surrounding area from the data that I reviewed. Wonder if you know anyone who's looking to sell. Take their equity upside, downside, size. So finding the home though is important that you stay engaged with the buyers who are real buyers. Get them houses, show them houses. I'm not telling you, waste a lot of time on KSL.com and for sellbyowner.com and stuff, but if you're not finding it on the MLS in particular, use it as an avenue, and also know that if they go to for sellbyowner.com, guess what they do? They call for sell by owner directly, and then they call you after they saw it. They're like, I really like this house. I want to go write an offer. And then you have an awkward conversation to call them for sell by owner saying, hey, I represent these people. And they're like, oh, well, we already like talked about a price, but that didn't include realtor fees. So then you're in a chance. So stay ahead of it. If there's a house that fits their criteria for sell by owner or not, like find it and bring it to them.
How do you find
put
them?
The for sell by owners.
Is it just for sell by?
Yeah,
owner
for
dot com?
sellbyowner.com, KSL.com are the biggest ones around here. Facebook Marketplace, believe it or not, have a lot of for sell by owners on it.
Okay.
So find those underrepresented ones, and I don't have a whole for sell by owner script or tactic, to be honest with you, because I've just never really engaged in that side of business, but there's some agents who do really well in expireds and for sell by owners. So there's a process. Another part of your value offering is making the offer and negotiating the terms. Right, so I do like to, once I get a buyer agency with the buyer, give them a sample contract by PDF of what the rep C looks like. Just so they can see, look at this, say, hey, this is the rep C of the contract that we're gonna use to make an offer once we find a house that you like. I'd like it if you just read through the contract real quick so that, you know, so with us during our search process, familiarize yourself with the contract. So when you get to the stage of writing an offer, you're already familiar. with
We
it.
don't have that chart in here, do we?
This one?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we're in a totally different class.
Yep.
Thoughtful. So, negotiating the terms though, be familiar with your lender, what products they might have, because you're gonna need to often include closing costs. Right now, we're doing a lot of buy downs, there's the grant program, all those different things, so really understand what terms you might need to negotiate in the offer. The last thing you wanna do is be ready to rock. You got a buyer who's like, look, I just want to sign the offer and present it, and you don't know how long the lender's going to take to pre-qual them, how long the lender's going to need for escrow. You don't know how long your inspector is out for inspections. You don't know, be in tune with all the pieces and parts of your business. Don't commit a buyer to a 21-day close on a property just to get the offer together when your lender's going to turn around and say it'll be 30 days, no matter what, because then you have to try to renegotiate, like negotiate the best up front. So you gotta understand the buyer and their team of support with the lender, in particular. So your questions are pretty good, right? How long does it take to underwrite and get a buyer approved? Well, there's a lot of stages, right? You can go on to America First right now and like plug in a bunch of random data and you'll spit out a pre-approval letter. But if you meet with, someone from more reputable, I shouldn't be using the name of it.
Yeah, we're being recorded.
We're being for it, scratch that. But understand where they're at in the pre-qual process, because if they've just told them stated income, hey, I make 45,000 a year, my wife makes 65,000 a year, we don't have any debt. But they haven't actually ran that credit search for them, like it could be a whole different outcome. So you don't want to write offers and be bound in situations that are, your lender will quickly tell you, hey, I'm thinking about writing an offer on this house for this price. What closing costs will we need? What type of, how far are your appraisal right now, do you think? And if I wrote it with a 30-day settlement closing, is that enough for this buyer? Do you think you could do it sooner? Because you might get the really positive answer. Oh, actually, we've underwritten everything for that client except for an appraisal in the house, and we can do it in 20 days. They're ready to go. All we need is a subject property and appraisal. We can close it. So, and that happens. If you do it right with your buyers, get them from the lender really early, they can shave days off the closing process and escrow process by being truly pre-approved versus just sort of. So negotiating the terms, though, you want to be really attentive during the walkthrough, because in my opinion, if I'm a listing agent and I have stuff that's obvious in the house that's defective or is deficient in maintenance, deferred maintenance type stuff, and then I get an offer and it's full price or something, and then they do their inspection, and then they want to hit me because they want to ask for concessions because the carpet's ripped and the paint's got some drips in it, and the drywall downstairs is coming off the ceiling and there's a leak. You know what I mean? Like, understand the house when you're walking through it and consider that in your offer up front to get the deal, but also to try to minimize renegotiations during inspection later, because you can't guarantee you'll get your buyer discounts later. So I've heard agents say, well, we're just going to offer full price and then we're going to beat them up on the inspection later. I just prefer not to do it that way. There's a really good class called Certified Negotiation Expert. If that comes around, it usually comes once, I think, in Utah each year. It's a pretty good class. It's like 2 days, and it's only on negotiating terms. It's all about how the different strategies, it's beyond the closing techniques that you use to get an agency agreement, and really moves into like how do you best get to the finish line with all these different scenarios and mindsets and personalities, and how to approach it, make it happen. So
What's it called?
certified negotiation.
So you get like, a certificate, or you can stay
I
for
have-
years, see any?
I haven't renewed it, so I think you have to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, certified negotiation expert. I found good value in the class. It was pretty good. So this is really reviewing the process with your buyer, though, so make sure that they understand what an offer looks like, what things they need to consider. They need earnest money. They need to be prepared to tell you a purchase price, how much earnest money they're going to put down. They need to know how quick they can do an inspection and be prepared to pay for the inspection if they're going to do one. When do they need to move? Right? When can they move? Would we be too late? Put them homeless for a week or something. So understand all that, but they need to be able to bring that information to you so you can make an offer and negotiate the terms. Then you go under contract. Seller agrees. Yep, we're going to sell you our house for this price with these terms, close on those dates. And then you start to help vendor coordination. So your title company, your lender gets the contract. Everybody should have that right out the gate. If you don't use a transaction coordinator already, I would just try one out. If you don't, even if your business is new, I think it's worth every penny. They're about what $300 right now for.
I think Jen is $3.99 now.
Ooh, they went up. Last time I checked, they were $250.
Yeah, so, and you pay for what you get, but ask around the office for a referral for a transaction coordinator if you need one. Kevin's really great. She does the United Home, so it's United Home Services, UHS.
If that's all changed, you must have not heard, that's all changed.
So anyway,
Why would you need one?
so you don't need one necessarily.
So you're good at your job and you should.
If you're good at your job, it's, so the main reason I like to is because I feel like my time's better spent generating leads.
Oh,
Right, versus trying to manage things. And little things like, I mean, if you're really good at it and you've got the time, it's probably not a big deal. An MREA book is going to tell you to wait a little bit to get a transaction. But my opinion is it's a relatively nominal expense and actually gives you pretty keen insight on some really good ideas on how to present your business, and things will just happen like clockwork. You get the right transaction coordinator in, you send them the contracts, they put it in for compliance, it all gets reviewed, they send it to the client for signature follow-up. They send
Oh, you don't
you,
have to do any of that.
you can, yeah, depending on what you
DocuSign.
buy or what you do, yeah, they'll go to prep stuff for you and things like that. Yeah. Now just to give my,
And that's why I was talking to Bonnie about that, using one, just because if you have a technology learning curve, just use a transaction.
yeah, if you have
coordinator.
if you're not like following with the technology in particular, definitely use one. And again, if you're working another job, and you're just getting this off at the start, like use one because they'll just mind the B's and Q's of your transaction with you as well. They'll make sure the dates are all coordinated and they'll pre-draft some stuff. And then if you're new to real estate, you're gonna use that right now.
Yeah.
So one of the things they'll do is just they'll shine some light on like, well, what does the process? Look like? What should I be sending? Email changes, should they look like? Everything else, and they'll help coordinate some of your whole team. You tell them we're using this lender, this title company, here's the buyer.
Oh, they do all that too?
Your transaction.
You have to set the transaction coordinator for success and let them know what your preferred vendors are.
Oh, okay, so who do you like inspections, who do you like to do for?
And they'll help, do all kinds of things. Again, who you pay and what you get is gonna maybe vary a little bit, but
Who's the meth guy?
yeah, who's your manager? To clean it up.
Yeah, I know.
So you're under contract, you're under coordination, negotiate inspections, right? So again, the inspector's gonna go through the house, you have a handful of preferred inspectors that you'll send your client. They'll do that, and then you're gonna need to negotiate some inspection if that's possible. Might be deficiencies that you didn't see at the walkthrough that are significant enough the buyer wants some credits for, or they want prepared before moving forward. And so make sure you do that and understand that when you go on contract here, you understand those dates. Yeah, go ahead,
Real quick, so on the negotiation for the inspections, so say,
this piece.
say I'm representing the buyer, we want A, B, and C done. I could just say that to the transaction coordinator and she would write it all up.
Depends, yeah, so,
Okay.
and so.
Okay,
That's
Let
very.
me make sure I say it right. So for license, if you have a licensed KW success transaction,
Oh, they have to be like,
they can, well, not necessarily, so they can draft it and send it virtually independently to cut on. Now, if they're not licensed, they can draft it as long as you approve and review it before it goes out.
And same if they're licensed and not with KW. You have to preview it.
You have to
before it
approve
goes
it. Has to come from you ultimately, so you're responsible for it to make sure that it comes out. In the words, verbiage, timelines, everything, like you're responsible.
because that's, you're actually writing, but changing the contract.
But you can
That's-
definitely email and say, hey, I want to ask for X, Y, Z, and we help start that process. It should say,
Okay.
here's a document review, you review the document, approve it, and it gets sent out for signatures. Now, we can go into this a little more detail too, and I don't know if this, maybe it's appropriate for this class, I think it is. So when you do the inspection, you're gonna get, I always tell my buyers basically, look, you're gonna get a laundry list, even if it's a brand new house, you're gonna have 10, 15 items at least on the list that are gonna show us efficient. Now, we've already walked through the house, every house is gonna have some items, and so what we're looking for in that list aren't all the items that are relatively easy to remedy later or things like that. We're looking for things that are gonna be functional, like a furnace malfunctioning, water heater leaking, things that are large back to. We want to come in here and here, understanding that there's gonna be blemishes.
An outlet might not work. Here,
Yeah, now
there.
that might not work here and there. There might be some little things, but those are things that we can expect in the home building.
Yeah.
Well, brand new home, everything should be perfect. If that's what we expect. Now you're gonna get that list, and then before I put it on an addendum though, or a resolution of due diligence form is the preferred form. I email it direct to the agent. I don't email the whole report, so don't send the entire report. I'll copy and paste. I use a PC, so I use a snippet tool, Apple's like screenshot, snag, I don't know what it is. I'll take screenshots out of the inspection report and I'll send that to the listing agent saying, hey, we just did our inspection. Thank you for your time. Below are the items of concern that my buyer has, we would like these remedied or we like $6,000, whatever you and your buyer come up with, you want to ask for. I do it by email separate from the negotiation inside the contract first, because the seller may come back and say, we'll do items 1 and 2, but not 3 and 4. And if you put items 1 through 4 in an addendum and they count it back, the lender's already seen all 4 of those items now. It's part of the chain of the contract. And if the lender or the appraiser says, ooh, I don't like item 3 and 4, in order for us to fund this loan, those need to be repaired. Now you're in a sticking point, because the seller does not have to repair anything. It's all negotiation. So now you might be in a pickle where it's like, oh shit.
If it's an FHA and it's something that.
Right. Now, an FHA appraisal is gonna do their own FHA inspection, so I'm not saying you wanna sweep anything under the rug.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying do the negotiations or inspections outside of the contract and then incorporate it and always use the resolution of due diligence addendum as opposed to a blanket. The main reason why is because it has contents and references inside of there that refer to what happens if it's not repaired before closing. The qualified contractor is supposed to do the work, all those different things. Remedies kind of included in that form in advance, where if you just write it in an addendum, fix leaky faucet downstairs.
I had just this year, on the listing right over here in Layton, I had a buyer's agent write the addendum that said the house must be brought up to code, and we were definitely up to code, like, and that underwriter grabbed that so fast,
yeah.
and they were like, nope.
Yeah, so what do they want to do with that, right? Like, if another gets, home must be brought to code. And you know what they're gonna do now? They're gonna say, go get an inspector to come and tell us everything that needs to happen to get this home up to code before we'll fund it. It's like, you're a dead in the water, man. You're like, it's gonna suck.
We
It's
had
gonna be
to
the worst.
write,
Did
we
you
luckily.
did you sign it and then send it to the,
She sent it to me, the buyer's agent sent it to me on her inspection,
oh, okay.
but after her inspection, but we just had her rewrite. Well, I called, I knew it wasn't gonna fly, but the addendum's already in here now, here we are with it.
Oh,
So but the underwriter grabbed it cause we just called and went straight, like basically told on ourselves, it's gonna come up anyways. And so the underwriter had her write a new addendum that said that she misworded the addendum.
Oh,
That-
okay.
They don't stick out of it, but it's still very conversation. So pre-negotiate outside of the contract is the best. Understand, you come to some non-binding term, but general understanding between you and the other agent of this. These are the things inside the list that we presented that they would repair, that they'll do. Now we're ready to put it inside the contract and then negotiate and formalize the contract. That way it doesn't become an issue. And so. Appraisal, as the buyer agent, you're not gonna get a call from the appraiser, not even gonna probably know who, when, where, how the appraiser happened, but the listing agent, if they're doing their job, will get all that information and they'll take hopefully the necessary measures to meet the appraiser or provide any additional information that might get value there. The last little while has been quite interesting with offers 30, 40,000 on the list and all those things to tell the story to the appraiser why this property went for the price it went, everything else. It took a little extra effort to get there. We're stabilizing now where I think it's maybe not going to be as big a sticking point or an issue. Hit values on appraisals, but now that the market's flat, appraisers are kind of throttling back as well with generosity of value. So just be mindful that if you think you're pushing the envelope on value, right? You've seen a lot of houses in that neighborhood and most of them are 475. You found this cutie that's got a great view, it's 500. Like maybe help that listing agent tell the story to the appraiser when it comes up, right? If you have comps or anything that you would want to help provide to have that happen. Appraisal's the buyer's property, not the seller's, so they don't get it unless you authorize them to have it. Pre-close preparation, so this is great as well. Make sure your buyer has all the utility information. Do they have the moving truck line? Do they understand when they're actually going to get keys? A lot of people initially think, well, I signed, so keys, but it's that afternoon or the next day, or it could be even a delayed funding if you prearranged that. So understand what that process looks like and coach your client on it. And again, offer whatever assistance, if it's just referrals to a good moving company or some Boy Scouts who are willing to move some boxes or what, I don't know. But doing pre-close preparation, all these stages, you should be asking for referrals along the way. Yes, me.
Take pictures too.
Yeah.
And post them. You can take pictures of the clothing
Yeah.
or like just giving them a,
Yeah, have a little bit of a social media plan, right? Like what are the kind of 1 or 2 or 3 things that you're gonna do that fit your style and your mojo, if that's what you want to do. So a couple things that I've heard people say that are pretty cool. I've never done it, but I think it has some viability, I think, is offer them to pay for like postcards and go out to their whole sphere. Just tell them, hey, we bought a new house and here's our new address, send your Christmas cards here. And they'll give you that.
What's the liability behind?
What's that?
What's the liability behind?
I don't know, did I say that?
I think
Said
it's
that-
viability.
Oh, viability. Okay, I was like, viability.
I mean, if they were, yeah, the viability of having, because a lot of people, like I have a spreadsheet with like who I send the Christmas cards to, right? So if you sold me a house and we're moving, that might be nice. Well, here's my database. Just send them the card, right? You could put your name on it, whether you follow up with future mailings or not, I don't know that. Offer to sponsor a move-in party. Like, hey, you got friends coming to help you move? Tell you what, let me buy pizza. What day you guys doing? 2 o'clock on Saturday? Great.
Wish I
I'll
wish-
I'll pop by. I'll bring some pizza. Like, how many people you?
You wish, and if you don't do it, you're gonna wish that you did.
Exactly.
Because
So a lot of little opportunities inside there, and then post-closing we talked about, right? Don't just close and walk away. Follow up with phone calls, follow up with thank you, follow up with a yearly analysis on like what's the property worth, did they meet the neighbors? If you've seen that neighborhood that's going in, like, there's a lot of little details that you can provide them and be the source for information. Especially if you know there's vacant land, maybe being developed nearby. Hey, did you see that new subdivision going in near you guys? Do you have any questions on that place? Like, who knows? So, not going as fast as I thought I'd go, but anything good out of that conversation?
Yes,
Yes.
lots of good stuff.
Okay, good. How am I doing on time? Already over?
Mhm. We're 10 minutes away.
Oh, smell. All right.
We're on.
you can just record yourself on a Zoom and finish it off and email it to us.
Yeah, you're totally back.
Try it again.
So. We've kind of already gone through a lot of the set time expectations, the document expectations, set communication expectations, set contingencies, right? I'm out of the office, what am I gonna do? Who are you gonna partner with? Right? How am I gonna make sure their business's needs are taken care of, the transaction is taken care of? Let them know I'm going out of town, but I've already coordinated with Lori, she's gonna have my phone calls while I'm gone, has, agency authorization to help with documents if we need to make that. Set up to date market expectations, know the market, know if they're looking for a house in a certain neighborhood, like, again, if they're a hot buyer, you should know that market better than they do. Which will be really hard because all they do is on their search. You should say focus time for every day. To say, okay, this buyer's hot, they're looking, they're active, what are they looking at? And like, when was my last showing, when's my next showing, what's available now to put in that, like, just keep moving, keep shuffling stuff to them and understand. In that market, what's hit, and what hasn't, what's maybe stayed on the market longer, what came and went before they even had a chance to look at it, and don't be afraid to let them know, like, hey man, we missed this one on 26 and Apples or something. But so set expectations seamlessly with your KW Tech. So come to the tech class. There's so much great leverage that comes out of this that it's just kind of mind blowing. We do tech.
So Kylie, she was doing open tech bars on Friday, but there wasn't participation. So if there's
Oh.
participation, she'll do it, but also you can schedule links with her
One-on-ones, yeah.
one-on-ones.
Yeah,
with
it's
her
really,
on her Calendly.
and she's crazy amazing. Like,
Mhm.
she knows it way better. I barely scratched the surface on what I can do inside here. If it were me, though, I think some of the first things I would do is click here, go to the consumer piece. Make sure your website's up to date and that it looks good, it's satisfactory, what you're looking for, it's pretty easy, plug and play stuff there. The buyer and seller guide inside your app, make sure your app is linked, all that stuff's inside this button here.
So for them to get the buyer and seller guide, do they have to actually register?
Uh,
Let's try to do
No,
it. It made me log in. It doesn't.
So it's, if you don't log in, it's just on the bottom of the app. You can click the X.
So I'm in my path, right?
Yeah,
And then I go to the,
and then it's just
More.
on the bottom. So there's search, feed, guide, saved or more.
and then you go to more.
No, just guide.
Oh, just guide,
And then
Yeah,
it
it
says
says-
buying or selling.
get started.
oh, you know what, it did this to me too, it made me log
Sign
in.
up.
I wonder if they changed something, because I
See
actually,
if you could just click the X.
Oh. Get started. Yeah, it just goes back to get
Oh,
started.
it's making you do
make
it.
them register, get them registered,
Yes,
call your friends,
register
call your family, and we test out my new app, so you just register, you delete your account later.
But I thought I registered this already, because I'm like I have like it.
Yeah, set one up for yourself,
Yeah.
so put yourself in as a client, so you can send yourself things from your own account, so you can see how it works.
It's logged me out too.
I may have to ask Kylie on that, because I did have to log into my app too to see myself. You guys okay? I mean, if anyone wants to leave, feel free, I won't. few more minutes.
Unless everyone gets a little, just kidding.
Totally fine. So 3 steps to gain referrals: provide your value, ask for the help. So there's a great system that I really love and I've been too chicken to actually really use. And it's called a promise. You've heard the promise before probably.
Mhm.
So essentially, we meet with it and we're gonna work together. My pitch to you is, look, I'm gonna provide the highest level of service in real estate industry that I can. And
Certainly expect it
exactly, and I hope to fulfill this promise through every stage of our process. We've already talked about what we're gonna do. We're gonna, get you pre-qualified with the lender, walk through all that stuff. So as I deliver that service and fulfill my promise to you, all I might ask is that you think of anybody along the way you could possibly refer to me to talk about real estate. They don't even have to buy or sell. I just want to introduce somebody who might have a question. Is that something you think you could do if I could deliver that promise to you? Great. Can't wait to work with you. Excited to go.
Why are you chicken to use that?
I don't know.
Sounds great.
I don't know.
She was
Yeah, that
gonna give you a
sounds really
referral.
I don't know. 'Cause I'll be a blackbird. I don't know what to say when I'm I'm gonna challenge myself to use it next. So then your first knowing.
So when
Showing
George teaches
how-
his CMA class, we're gonna ask him how many times he did the promise.
So I show you the first house, we go through, we find 2 houses, we do a quick book tour. We're doing a quick recap. What do you think of house number 1? It's great. House number 2 is garbage. We can get interest in one number 1. Well, speak about it. Great. Okay, perfect. Look, so far,
Let's see another one.
I don't know, okay, you have one in mind, did you?
Yeah, here.
Right.
Right there.
Awesome. Let's take a look. Hey, it's actually not available tomorrow.
That's very good.
Or it's available right now, right? Like, figure it out, look at it, box it, go see it. So great. So far, I know we're super early in the process, but how am I doing so far on my promise? Are you excited? Okay, great. Look, have you thought of anybody who might be looking to buy or sell real estate? Love to help them out if they just have a general question.
All of my contacts are in Michigan.
No, it's okay. I have lots of realtors in Michigan as well. They have to deliver the same level of service. So if you know anyone out there, don't let me know. I'd love to refer them to somebody really good in Michigan. Great, cool. No big deal. Right? I'm not pressing for a future referral or more, anything more. I'd say they'll show you for the next house. That's what I'm gonna say the next house. We drift that in the conversation. We finally go under contract, or we make an offer, right? We write the offer. Great, got the offer all done. You got any questions on the offer? You set happy with the send which other was in. Perfect. Well, now we're at the offer stage. How do you feel like I'm doing on, promise on that, delivering my promise and my values? We still on par?
Doing exactly what I expected.
That's great. I'd love to do the same for any of your friends or family. So if you think of anybody that might benefit from chatting with me, I'd sure love to hear about it.
Wonderful. Give me
And,
some cards.
Okay, great. Here's some cards. I'm excited to meet your friends.
You're supposed to do it at like everything you do something.
You can drip it into all along the way, right? You negotiate the instruction.
And you remind them about the promise, remember?
So the guy who taught this promise to me, that was his thing. He said, look, you can't just promise up front and ask for it again. You got to remind them along the way. How hard you ask for the close at each promise delivery, like each promise statement, can vary, and it's kind of up to you. But they'll completely forget about the fact that they made a promise to you to give you a referral if you only ask up front and at the end. So along the way, remind them, hey, I'm just working on my promise to you. Hope I'm doing good. You might not even ask for a referral that time. Remind them before it's a promise made, it's an exchange of
Commitment.
a commitment, yeah, that was made. And then you're at the closing table, right? Hey, look, I'm super excited. Can't believe you closed. Get you the keys tomorrow. I had never received any contact from anybody who might want to buy or something. So right now, I know, right? It's hard. So I'm thinking that maybe I didn't fulfill my promise. Is there an area inside of my process that I can do a little bit better to fulfill that promise? That I could do the referral.
What's more important, a 5-star Google review or a referral? What's worth more? A referral.
Probably a referral.
Yeah.
Probably a referral. Now, if you were to say, if you were adding a component of getting a 1-star review for being a dork all along the way, asking for referral, I would probably not, I don't want the 1-star. So I don't know. There is a line, right? And when I say these things or I go through scripts, most of them are not me. Most of them are not how I actually deliver content in conversations to my clients. But if I understand the concept inside the promise, right, I can recraft this. Walk into the door, meeting them after the inspection. I can put it in a casual conversation in a way that doesn't sound so cheesy and so iced over, right? Because it does, right? Corey's a real laugh and
It did.
I'm never gonna say that. Say it how I said it.
No.
But you will find, understanding that concept, right? You get that promise for an exchange of a referral for top level service. You're reminding yourself, I'm gonna deliver the best service in the industry. Every time I tell them, how am I doing it? So you're asking for actual critique,
Feedback.
because kids might say, you know what, Troy, I found the last 2 houses that we saw and you didn't even send them to me. So I honestly, I'm kind of wondering like, what is it that you're doing as far as helping find houses? And then I go, hey, I should be watching my listings more. I should be doing more working. I should have found that if my client finds houses that I didn't send to them that meet their criteria, I am not doing a very good job. So I need to refine that system. So
They're
That's-
probably not in their search criteria.
and that's maybe true, right? So then I can have this conversation. Great. Maybe I'm not faced with our search criteria because the 2 homes that you did show me, you said you were, unequivocally objecting to anything that didn't have an RV pad and both of them. So you brought to me that you had. Should I expand our search criteria? I'm listening to you. 5-star reviews. Yeah, this is another area. I think I have like 2 reviews total, so I cannot.
That's you already.
Nice, right?
I was-
Are they 5-star?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, there you go.
I'm not gonna send it if it's not a 5-star.
So, maybe put that in the promise, right? Would you be able to, if I deliver my promise, would you be willing to give me a 5-star review and introduce me to one of your friends or family that might also have a real estate collection or need? Then it's maybe a little less off-putting, just saying, look, I you, man, yeah.
I'm just asking old clients at this point, like,
Yeah.
hey, I never asked for this, but do you mind doing it for me now? Because it's really important for my business.
And how many have like just hung up on you until they take that?
Not one of them.
Exactly. No one's gonna win. It's-
Talk to them first, and I've been talking to them, catching up, and then I'm gonna ask.
Yeah, it's maybe not the leading question,
Right.
but in the conversation.
You're like,
anyone
hey,
who follows
give
the
me a review.
guidance, what you do and who you are isn't gonna shut the door in your face. I'm gonna blast through the seller reviews, get them, buyer reviews, get them, social good some stuff. I feel bad we didn't get to go through all this content. Buyers.
Are these
We probably went through a lot.
available, like these?
They
slideshows?
They are, yeah, so they're, let me just tell you the best way to get them to you.
I can
because-
share them in.
Even if you have the slideshow, I think you can get a lot more.
Yeah, there's a, inside a command, KDB Connect, all the Ignite materials are in there, but I think that we can also send.
I can share the slides with everyone through.
So I'm gonna wrap the slides up from there, but I'm totally available if anyone has questions for a few more minutes. And I hope that I didn't speak too long. I can easily make these classes long. So.
That's us realtors. We just like to talk.
Are there any ahas? Did anyone gather something in here that they might change or implement in their business? Their approach to get business that'll help you, or is there any void that you're like, I had this one, that's what I could do. I could see the wheels turning in your head. Got anything?
Now I can think of, there's a lot of notes, but
Cool. Now you're brand new in the business as well?
yes, I just got my license Tuesday.
Wow,
So I got
cool,
one.
like way
So
fresh.
it's
Yeah,
brand new,
awesome. Where do you live?
in Clinton.
Cool. Married?
Nope.
No family? Like,
I have a
are you-
daughter.
are you from around here? Got a daughter, okay. Are you from?
I'm from around here. I
Mhm.
walk.
Great.
Yeah.
Good. Nice to meet you. Are you working another job or anything? Or is this-
Yeah, I
is it-
teach 2nd grade.
Oh, really? Cool. My mother was a teacher at 4th grade for like 45 years. You'll meet people and go, no way. This is Carolyn time, your mom. I'm like, I know.
Good morning.
Cool. Good luck. Good luck.
Thanks.
I shared a couple of things that I share almost with every class, and I'll swear by it even today, is you don't need to take the business to your best level of success is gonna be with people that you like, that know you, that you trust, that you have some common interests. So whether you're from here or you're just planted here or whatever, I would always advise to just stay engaged in something that you're interested in, whether it be PTA committee or get on a board of directors for a ski team, or I like to mountain bike, so I'm on a mountain bike Facebook thread, and I've made new friends through there, or anything like that. Or if you have any kind of hobby or interest, if you haven't made time for yourself for that, do it first with the underlying intention that I'm going to meet new people. And I'm not going to necessarily hard sell those people to buy or sell real estate, but I'm going to let them know along the way through my forward conversation or whatever conversation I have that I'm interested. And a lot of that business will naturally come because you'll connect on a common interest, completely separate from your business. That makes sense. So I've definitely sold a lot of houses to people in that regard, where it's like, hey, in passing, you were telling me that you were in real estate, you want a house. I asked you a question about buying an Airbnb. So Great way to drum up business. Take care. Good
And let
meeting.
me
Good to see you.
just tell you guys, so we're not meeting for Ignite at all next week. It's for the 4th of July, we're taking that off. And then, the week after that, we're meeting Tuesday, and Wednesday. So not on
So not the
Thursday,
next week, but then the next week is Tuesday. Wednesday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, yeah.
We'll be reminded of that again. Not Tuesday or Thursday,
Not next week, not Tuesday, we're,
Tuesday and Wednesday. we
Cool.
yeah, and I'll have that in the recap email too.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Yeah. good luck. Take care. It was great to meet everybody. Yeah, safe travels.
Okay.
My office is right there. If you haven't stopped in, I'm almost certainly not gonna be there. But,
But
I
it's
think-
there.
I think my comments up.
A little bit more.
I'm trying to, yeah, it's stuff, my kids have stuff like right in the middle of the day. And so by the time I do the drop off and come here and drive back. And I'm still working on the job from home.
Kids keep you busy.
Should be there. If you're indeed. I
Yeah,
think-
and then they grow up.
so like-
Yeah, that's what's keeping me busy is their kids.
I know my mom took my boy yesterday and today because he was just like nothing to do. We lined up a bunch of camps, but then this week he didn't really have anything. And my niece was apparently like just at home chilling too, so she's like. "Yeah, can I just take the kids and do something like. please, please." Yes, you too. good. Thank you for your support. Thank you for the tech support.
Today. it was
So
good.
I took over the
Busy
meeting.
day.
Great help.
And,
It's,
so it's like a productivity coaching now instead of